Well, happy Thursday to you. I hope today's test went well. Today's test is a good example of how your tests are going to be from here on out with me in high school. If today's test didn't go well for you, when I return from Florida, I will give you an opportunity to retake the test. As I told you earlier, I always let students retake tests one time, and I always record the higher of the two scores. What we do in my classes at the high school level is the last day of the week, this week, Thursday, the last day of the week, we take a test and then we introduce the next week's focus. Next week, we're going to be focusing on democratic revolutions. In other words, big changes in how people are going to govern themselves. And we're going to focus on the Atlantic world. In other words, we're going to focus on the Americas and Europe. In week 1 and week 2, we mainly focused on what was happening in the world in the 1500s and 1600s and 1700s. Next week, we're going to look at just 40 years of history. We're just going to look at what took place between 1760 and 1800. Today, I would just like to talk to you about a topic that I refer to as the diffusion of authority. In other words, where does authority come from? Well, before we can even begin next week, we have to ask ourselves, people that have authority, why do they have authority? Well, actually, there's 3 sources of authority. One of those sources is knowledge. We look up to, we respect people that have knowledge. People that have knowledge have influence or power. Some people have authority because of the force, the potential for force or the use of force that they have. The other source of authority is money. We all know that money is very influential in our lives. So what we're going to look at here for the next couple minutes is just basically what happens to those 3 sources of authority from 1760 to 1800. What things that's happening, or all these things are happening basically because of the 2 revolutions that we studied this week. The commercial revolution and the military revolution. Let's look at one source of authority. Let's look at knowledge. What was happening in the 1700s and the early 1800s? The people with knowledge was disseminating. The people with knowledge was spreading. More people were gaining knowledge. Now you have to ask yourself why. There's several reasons. One reason why more people were gaining knowledge was because of the printing press. Remember, before the printing press, books were very rare and books were very expensive. Because of those 2 factors, very few people had access to books. But with the invention of the printing press, and with more printing presses being made to the point that every town had a printing press, people were able to gain knowledge. It became very important. People wanted to be able to learn how to read. Matter of fact, during this time, we see the writing of the first encyclopedia. You all know what encyclopedias are. They contain information on a variety of subjects, A to Z. In Europe, the Bible was originally and for centuries written in one language, Latin. However, during this time period, with the help of the printing press, we begin to see the Bible written in local, vernacular languages. In other words, we start to see the Bible written in German, Spanish, English, Czech, all the local languages of Europe. Finally, another reason why knowledge is being disseminated during this time is because of the growing number of universities and and because of the growing number of universities, there's an increase in the number of scientific discoveries. So what's happening in between 1760 and 1800? More people are gaining knowledge. Knowledge is no longer being held in the hands of just a few people. Another thing that's changing, mainly because of the military revolution, is force. Before, the people that had force were your strongest, most physical fighters. Now the military is becoming dependent upon technical skill and people with knowledge. People that are able to build weapons, build guns, maintain guns, fix guns, figure out what type of angle and to figure out how much gunpowder is needed for a cannonball to fly a certain distance. So the number of people who hold onto their power by force is also disseminating. Finally, money. Now, as we saw this week, what's happening to the amount of money in the world? More money is being developed thanks to the commercial revolution. And because there's more money available, there's more people that have money and have sources to that money. See, before 1760, in the 1500s and the 1600s, there was basically two classes of people, the rich and the poor. Two pretty distinct groups. However, as a result of the commercial revolution, we're going to have a new class of people that are going to be referred to as the middle class. Just wanted to introduce you today to the three sources of power, the three sources of authority, and what was happening to those sources in the late 1700s, early 1800s. The next time you and I get together on Monday, we'll dive deeper into these democratic revolutions that took place in Europe and in the Americas. No homework this weekend. I hope you enjoy your 3-day weekend. For the remainder of class, you're going to watch another one of the History Channel's Mankind, the Story of Us. I hope you have a good weekend.